In this video, we're going to be looking at neutralization reactions. We've already looked at these before, so we know how to predict them. But now that we have an understanding of pH and pOH, we want to also predict the outcome of a neutralization reaction that is incomplete. I want to know what's going to be the pH of my resulting solution after I neutralize some of this acid and base. So our first step is going to be figuring out how many moles of hydrochloric acid, how many moles of sodium hydroxide do I actually have? Fortunately, that's pretty easy to figure out. We just have this concentration equation, C equals N over V. We can rearrange it to solve for the number of moles, and we get CV equals N. So I'm just going to take my concentration times my volume. Now remember, my volume needs to be in liters. And I'm usually going to be given stuff in milliliters. So take that 100 milliliters, that'll be 0.1 liters times 0.01 molar. So it's going to give me 0.001 moles. And the NaOH will be very similar. It'll give me 0.0005 moles. Now what am I going to be left with? Well, the hydrogen and the hydroxide will combine to make water, leaving the sodium and the chlorine to get together. But then we'll still have something left over, right? We're going to neutralize this many moles of hydrochloric acid. So I can take my 0.001 minus 0.0005, and I get 0.0005 moles of HCl left that did not get neutralized because there's more hydrochloric acid than there is sodium hydroxide. And so what I want to know is, what's the pH, what was my starting pH of each of these? All right, put a little off frame there. What's my starting pH for each of these solutions? And then what's going to be my final pH here? So first off, the pH for each solution, that's going to be a pretty easy thing to figure out. Right? We can just take the negative log of the 0.01 molar for the hydrochloric acid, and that's going to give me 2. I'm going to have a pH of 2. The NaOH, that's going to be a little bit different. First, I need to figure out my pOH, and that's going to be 2.3 using the same method. And then I need to take 14 minus 2.3 to get my pH, which will be 11.7. Okay? So there, we've got the pH of our starting components. But now, I need to figure out the concentration of this HCl. I'm going to have a solution that has hydrochloric acid in it. What's going to be the volume of that solution? Because I have the moles of hydrochloric acid left over. What's the volume going to be? Well, it's going to be the volume of these two put together. I had two solutions of 100 milliliters and I added them together. So I'm going to have 200 milliliters for my volume. Now I need to take this C equals N over V. I need to take my number of moles divided by my number of milliliters. And I get a concentration of 0.0025 molar. Now, what is my pH going to be from that? Well, now that I've got the concentration, and it is hydrochloric acid, I can just take the negative log of that concentration. And I get a pH of 2.6. And so that's how we're going to do a partial neutralization. We're going to figure out the pH of our starting components, we're going to figure out our number of moles of our starting components, and we're going to figure out what is our leftover chemical. What do we have left over? And then we're going to figure out what's our volume of our final solution, find our concentration of that final solution, and finally the pH of that final solution.